Happy August 13th, 2014. Whoop, whoop. I'm very excited today. I have a super wonderful man sitting next to me here. He is like brilliant when it comes to internet business marketing. He is such a wonderful, helpful person for everybody, from the very small business owner to the big guy who has everything they need, but they still need the expert. This is who they call. I'd like to introduce to you today Mr. Yusuf Chowdhury.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me today, Jacqi.
I'm so excited. So tell me. I love Yusuf because he is our personal Vegas Stiletto Fitness online marketing specialist. So what he does is he will actually come to our little meetings. Well, they're getting bigger and bigger now,
Right.
Thank God. But he teaches the girls how to go on there and navigate on the World Wide Web and be found for their specific location. But you do that for everybody.
Yes.
Tell me, how did it start?
Well, that's a good question. Started back in 2006. One of my best friends from California started a blog where he was actually decided to make some videos on YouTube. And I basically just got involved with him and learned a few tricks. And from there, we generated within a year like more than 1 million viewers.
Wow.
And back then, MySpace and all the social media were very popular. We noticed that how this tool that doesn't actually cost you tons of money to market yourself indirectly generated huge success. So that's how I fell in love with this online marketing thing, because technically I started as a hobby, but later on when we were attending different conferences, different events, a lot of small businesses and other entrepreneurs were asking us, how did you move up there? What are the secret sauce and what are the techniques? And we ended up coaching and training at the beginning, just at no cost. And later on, the demand grew, and then it became as a business.
See, that's so beautiful. You gave of yourself first, and then you grew because
Yes.
of the giving. And that's kind of been our theme with all of our shows. Everybody, it's been like when you give from your passion,
Right.
you're never exhausted. You might be a little tired, but you're never exhausted, and you're always excited.
You're absolutely correct. You're never exhausted. I mean, the difference between loving what you do and putting your passion into it is much different than just working for somebody else. If you work for somebody, if you have a job that you don't like or you're tired, you are kind of indirectly forced to do something that you rationally or emotionally not into it. And that becomes like a health problem. But if you love something, it doesn't matter whether you spend 20 hours or 5 hours, but the result of that outcome will be huge.
Yes.
So.
It's huge. So when you were little, so I think you're a 70s baby like me. So there wasn't like a lot of computers for us
No.
to be learning. How did you get into computers?
Well, that's a good question. The first computer, I was born in '77, so the first computer came out in the '80s. My family, my brothers, bought this first machine, and we're like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?" Right? And we just learned by mistake. Believe it or not, I learned, the PC and technology and whatnot just by breaking it.
Oh,
making a mistake.
I'm sure your parents
and
were excited to see
Oh,
that.
absolutely, yeah.
Just demolish it and try to put it back
Right.
together. See how
We don't even read instruction. We're like, throw that thing, and start figuring it out and learning by mistake and error. And it's amazing how the same analogy we applied in our business. When we start our business, we typically don't have to make sure that everything. I mean, you plan to make sure that everything is right, but when you make a mistake, that's actually a good thing because you can learn from that quickly.
See, I love that attitude. When you make a mistake, it's
Yeah.
a good thing.
It is a good thing, and most people actually, what happens, unfortunately, when I see a lot of businesses, so-called business owners and entrepreneurs, there's a two different definition. The business owner, in most cases, they try their best not to make any mistakes. But when they make the mistake, a lot of time they either quit or just give up. But the entrepreneurs, on the other hand, they and their mistake and the mistakes by them live side by side. Right, and the faster you make the mistake is actually better for you, so you don't have to wait 1 or 2 years to get the biggest mistake.
To learn.
Yeah, make the mistake. I mean, don't make the mistake on purpose, but when you make it, that's an opportunity. Awesome, I learned from this. Let me try something else.
Yeah, I love that. So when
and
there's
that's
a
it.
problem,
Yeah.
it's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Just an opportunity to
It's
grow from.
you're absolutely correct. It's an opportunity, and also how you look at it, at the situation. So you always have to think positive, and also have a positive outcome and figure out, you know what, I can't focus on the negative of the problem because that's not going to give you any solutions. If you think about a positive solution to an issue, that will probably push the creative juice in your mind, and you come with a solution.
I love it.
Okay.
That's why we love Yusuf here, is because he is so positive. And when I'm looking at that computer, I don't feel so positive sometimes. I just want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. It's awesome to have that energy. So you're doing a lot of meetups now because you're really helping just so many people. Tell me about how meetups started. And
Great question. 2 years ago, I was looking for a lot of meetups here local in San Antonio, and they have a variety of different organizations, from just from bicyclists to networking, business events. But one meetup I could not find in San Antonio was in the niche of the digital marketing or the online marketing. So I didn't find one, and I decided to start one to see if we can bring all the digital marketers to create this community. That's how it started initially. Then later on, it ended up where a lot of business needed some help, and a lot of concern where I was approached by different business owners asking me that I do attend different classes, different events, but I'm not getting the actual teaching. I'm only getting just theories and vague information as if the person wants to sell the product. So I decided, you know what? I've been there before, where I attended many so-called seminars and events where the speaker will either give you tons of information to make a sale, or they just give you nothing. I decided to give everything. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll give full information, and the whole focus is just to help that particular business owner. This is your business. One of the things that matters to you is how to market your product, how to let your customer find you, and that's it. And ever since we've been doing these classes like 3-4 times a month, there wasn't a single day that we canceled it. Everything started.
awesome.
Even the day that I couldn't attend, I had to ask some of my business associates to go take care of the class. And with that consistency, now we have almost 1,000 members for the San Antonio online market.
Consistency is key, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have a few other business owners giving classes, and these classes can start from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. And we have one seminar per month. And the whole idea is to share with you all the practical strategies and technique that we run our business for different businesses on a monthly basis.
So did you start at a Geekdom? Because I know you have different locations now.
Right.
So
I joined Geekdom, which is another awesome collaborative co-working space organization, but I didn't typically just start right there. Initially, I used to do a lot of so-called similar meetup through the internet, which is the webinar. That's how I started everything online, and that was very successful. But I noticed that, again, nobody was doing it offline. So one of my mentors told me, you know what, if there's no if you see there's a market, but there's nobody's doing it, you should take that opportunity. So I decided to take my online knowledge and just apply it offline.
okay.
And Meetup was the opportunity. Geekdom was a great place, and I still do events at Geekdom. I also do events at the SBDC downtown at the UTSA campus.
I love that place.
It is an awesome place, and also Venture Point, which is another office and co-working space.
Now that's there off of Babcock. That's where we
That
saw
is
it.
off of Babcock, yes.
I attended his class the other day, and I dragged my husband, and I was like, come on, everybody has to go and learn what we don't know. And this is who you look for when you need to find out what you don't know, and you don't even know how to ask the question right yet.
Right.
Go to Yusuf, because he can kind of listen to you, and he's like, this is what I hear you saying, and this is what you need. And it's like, oh, because the light goes on.
Sure.
And that's, I'm sure, the rewarding part for you when you see that light and us go, oh, it clicked.
If you recall, Jacqi, I believe I did one seminar at your facility as well.
Oh, you
remember?
did. We used Starville, the old party
Right.
room, for the karaoke.
Yes, and we try to present these classes at either different businesses or different organizations, just for the objective of having more exposure and giving the other audience an opportunity to get this knowledge.
And that's the thing is when it's in your own backyard, and now your programs are free. Like, I don't remember what I paid when I went to...
I like to call it at no cost.
No cost, because there is a huge value. Because
Right.
you had to take, thousands of hours of computer classes to learn the languages, the coding.
Everything.
And those are not free. Those are
Those are not
definitely
free.
no cost. Those are very high cost.
You're absolutely correct. Plus, years of experience and different investment that I put to learn in my business. Of course, they do have a value. And I run the meetup. I mean, I pay for it, and I sometime for the seminar ask the other business owners to sponsor so we can help the local businesses.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. And the idea behind San Antonio Marketing, right now, I'm in the process of converting this meetup into a nonprofit.
Oh,
Hopefully by next year, it should be 100% ready.
that's a lot of paperwork.
And it's a lot of paperwork. We're almost done.
Yeah, we're trying to do that for Smash as a project,
Right.
you know, and yeah, I mean it's still in the works, but it's such a long process.
It is.
But
It
I
is.
love that idea of giving back.
Well, I tell you what, I have one of the guest speakers this month that will talk about the nonprofit and how to get grants and whatnot. So I advise
okay,
you
so
to.
when is that one?
That should be, I believe, possibly on the 25th.
Okay, so we'll put that on our website too and our Facebook social media outlet so that they can be looking. And then if you want to look on him, you go to www.onlinebusinessowners.org, not .com, .org, O-R-G. And I mean, it just seems like everybody now is doing some kind of business at some level. You know, it's the mom at home or it's, you know, the full family on. And when you started back in 2006, you said, you know, MySpace was around. Well, now there's so much more competition. I don't even think anybody uses MySpace anymore.
Well, I know just a Timberlake bought that website, and I think a lot of musicians right now utilizing MySpace. Yeah, and because they made a lot of changes. But that is an excellent point you mentioned right there, because if you look right now, there are actually more than 500 social media sites, and they're increasing. Every month you have a new social media coming up. Every niche coming up with their own social media.
Everybody trying to be the next Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah, we're definitely in the market. Vegas Stiletto Fitness. We're trying to create our own for our people to be able to go on like they do Facebook and share.
Yeah.
So Facebook is slowly losing, do you think, some of their, or do you think it's actually fueling their growth because they're meeting there and then they're going out and then they're meeting there and going out?
That is an excellent question, Jacqui. Well, I mean, from my understanding, I haven't seen any decline in Facebook except just from the youth, from the young generation. I think that's the only generation that they're actually kind of leaving Facebook and going to Instagram. But businesses still there, people from the age of 35 and up still there. And with all the recent changes with how Facebook is pushing more into advertising, so a lot of business taking that opportunity. So.
Tell me about what's going on with Facebook Messenger, because I've seen, of course, I'm locked out of my Facebook now, so if you're trying to contact me, I'm not there.
We can look into that.
We can look into that. But the thing is I have seen some posts saying like, oh, I took off my Messenger. Messenger is now too invasive. And I love Messenger. You know, messaging and texting really works for me.
Right.
So what is your take on that? Because I don't understand it enough to be upset, but I've seen other people's posts and they're pretty upset about the whole thing. What are they saying?
I think that's more of a preference, because when you install the original Facebook app, that's like the actual Facebook app where you can view your news feed, your personal profile, everything, and from there you can actually kind of figure out how to go and use the private messaging. The message app by itself is just for messaging, and you're right. I mean, I like it too because all I'm doing, they're just texting back and forth. So I'm not sure why would some folks will.
I think there was like some talk of they can now turn on your camera and watch you whenever they want. They can read your emails, they can read your texts, they can see your banking information.
Right.
And I think I didn't know if that was true or not. And I was just like, wow, I was like, oh,
Well,
bummer.
well, if you're gonna get a little bit controversial, I mean, you've seen what the Snowden, with the Wikipedia came up with all those information. Even if it's true, just, unfortunately in the internet there's nothing secure. I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, your browser, when you browse any website, it gets saved on your website, and that's how you get all these ads. When we talk about the NSA stuff, I mean, that's a different story. I don't think you should be worried about it unless you're not hiding anything. But just be smart. I mean, don't use family pictures publicly, and just be smart about it. And Facebook has a feature where you can create lists, let's say for your family members, and whatever pictures you share, just put your family picture there, and nobody else can see it.
And you do classes on Facebook,
Yes,
don't you?
we do classes on all the social media.
There's so much you can do. I'm like, wow.
And they change every month and so. So
Why
that's
do
why.
they do that?
I don't know.
Now there's a new function of I don't like this picture. If you hover over a picture, yeah, my friend Kim, the one who works with me, she put that. She was like, "What? Now I can say I don't like a photo?" And she's like, "Hover over a picture." And I tried it, of course. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can say I don't like a picture."
That's kind of mean.
It is kind of mean, and so that's new,
Right.
relatively new. But there used to be the dislike function, right? And then they took that off to where you can only like or ignore.
Right. And the change is just, it's not just with Facebook, it's just the whole internet. I mean, Google, they change their algorithm almost like every month or so. All the other social channels, they're trying to either improve or just go to the next level to see how the audience react to it. Some like it, some don't, but that's in itself is a test. And again, in business, that you have to take risk and see which one works for what. Yeah.
Business. So in your classes, how many people do you have more or less on average?
I would say anywhere right now between 20 to 30 on average.
Okay. And then the age group in there?
All kinds of age. I mean, you'd be surprised. I have folks like, I mean, I can, call them my grandpa, So, but yeah, all kinds of, we have young, we have from students, from high school, from colleges, an existing business, a startup, or folks that just, been there and they want to learn the new technology before
everybody else.
Yeah.
And that was so cool because when we went to your last one, it wasn't us, obviously seeing Yusuf is like the best, but it was so awesome because I got to meet really cool people in his class too. And like Melissa and the other gentleman, his name just escaped me, but he was a photographer and he was really, helpful.
Jeff, Jeff.
And yeah, everybody's like so helpful and it's such a great vibe. You don't feel intimidated because, my dad, he's like so old school that he doesn't even want to look at a computer.
Right.
But I tell him, Dad, like that's how we all stay in touch with each other now. That's how, I put the pictures of the baby and people all in LA here can see the baby. I was like, and he's like, no. And I think he's just intimidated to walk into a class. Right. But I keep telling him, like, you go see Yusuf and it's just like going to see your best friend. And he's just going to be like, hey, how are you? Come sit down.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I again, from my research, I found out that when folks in like old school are intimidated by technology, and I think the reason behind that is not just the fear, it's how we teach. Because a lot of these so-called classes when it comes to IT, unfortunately, they're boring. I'm sorry to say that, but most of them are like, I'm like falling asleep. So what we try, like in our classes, we try our best to speak in the baby language. I'm not trying to dumb people down, but I want to speak in a sense that an average person would understand.
They can relate.
Absolutely. So when we define different terminologies, we try to use real-life examples and just basic English. It doesn't have to be all these weird jargons and whatnot. That's the first thing. And secondly, you have to make them feel comfortable. So in our classes, I always say, don't feel shy, don't feel bad of asking anything. There's no wrong questions here. Just feel free. If anybody makes a comment, I'll slap them. Okay, or something like that.
You throw the chancla.
Throw the chancla, yeah. The I5 chancla, right? You have seen that, right? So I try to make them feel comfortable because the whole purpose for you to be present in our class is what? To learn and improve and apply, not just coming here, taking information and leaving. We want you to apply what you're learning and improve. And it doesn't matter what age. I mean, you can ask the audience, we try our best. I mean, to be very patient and help.
Yeah, y'all do. Yeah. And I'm definitely one to try your patience when I take your class. But I love the analogies you use. And so, it just really makes it easier. So it doesn't feel like you're talking down to someone like myself who is lucky to find the on button.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, I get it. And now I can make decisions based on how you made those analogies, because
Absolutely.
Now I have to share a story with you.
Okay.
So back in, what year was it, Papi? 2001, 2002, I thought, we had just moved to LA, and I thought, I want to learn how to make websites, because I knew that was the future, and I wanted to be on board. So I got my credit card, and I went to, I think it was Westwood, maybe? I don't know, it was one of those specialty universities. I don't exactly recall which one it was. And it was to be able to build websites. And so I applied for the program, and they were like, well, what's your highest level of education? I said, oh, I have a master's. And they were like, oh, okay, well, you should be able to follow the logic here in learning how to do this. And I was like, great. So they let me in. And I will say that it was like $5,000 back then. I think something, pretty substantial to put you back for a few years. But I thought, I'm determined to learn what I do not know. And so I go in, they gave me a whole stack of all these HTML books and all this stuff. And so I'm so proud. I'm walking into the first class and I put it down and I sit next to another guy and I was at the edge and everybody was already in there. And you got a laptop with it too,
Right.
so you can do the projects. And the guy comes up and he's like, okay, this is my name. We're learning coding. Read pages 1 through 14. Do this project. And let me know if you have any questions. Okay, go. And everybody just started. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? That was it? Really? And I was like, excuse me, hi. Can you come over here? And he was like behind the podium. And I was like, can you come over here? Yeah, just right over here. That'd be good. So I said, I'm going to need more help than that.
Right.
And he was like, well, did you read it yet? I'm like, yeah. So I just paid $5,000 to be in your class today. I said, so for that money, I expect you to like explain it, do my laundry, and rub my feet while I do the homework. I was like, this is completely stressing me out just already. And it's been 3 minutes I've been in your class.
Wow.
And he stood up and he just looked at me really sternly. He's like, you're going to probably need a tutor. And I was like, you think? I was like, yeah. I was like, I am going to need a tutor. And I was like, where's the tutor room? How do I get there? And he's like, just try. And I was like, okay. He's like, you can do it. And I'm like, okay. And he walks back to the behind the podium and he continues to do what he's doing. So I'm like, okay, let me try this. And so there's a girl there, and I think, oh, girl power, right? I can, like, connect with her and be like, hey, can you kind of, like, let me know where the on button is, you know? And she's just like, And I was like, oh, okay. And then the guy next to me, like, says my number. He's like, my name is James, and I can help you, but not right now. And, I can show you where the tutoring room is or whatever. I was like, thanks. And, oh, my gosh, we became such good friends with James, my husband and I, that he was actually, like, part of our wedding. I mean, yeah, we just adopted him. We were like, oh, thank you for saving me. But after that class, I did go try to find the tutoring room. I was completely lost in the organization. Of course, I'm walking in there with my pink and my little stuff. So I'm all like, hi, this is the tutoring room.
Right.
And they're all like, I'm like, And I was like, okay. So then I went up to the stairs to the main dean room where I was like, here are your books. Here is your laptop. I am not cut out for this. I was like, I can't.
Can I get a refund?
I need a refund. I have issues. I have ADD, something. And they were like, oh, but did you try? I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, take your stuff. And I did. And thank God I got all my money back. Thank God. But that was my attempt to learn about websites. And like I said, we made friends with the guy next to us, and then that was it. We lived on the beach at the time, so we'd be like, "Hey, come on down to the beach. We have a day of it," and then you can like kind of help us do this thing.
Right.
Yeah, and he was so wonderful. So hey, James, if you're watching, thanks so much. And he got me my first website up and going for my Jacqi's New Fitness, and yeah, it was really exciting. And it was just so, like you say, like those classes were just so intimidating and. Everybody just kind of seemed to be in their own little space,
Yeah.
And now with your classes, I am just like so happy and in love. So I work every other Saturday with that modeling school. Mm-hmm. But on the other Saturdays, I have them earmarked so I can go to your programs because I'm like, we have to learn what we don't know. And if you don't even know enough to ask a question, you can go to see Yusuf, and he won't intimidate you. He won't bite you. He won't be like, really? That's your question? Like, did you even try to read the book? Like that guy told me. And I was all like, I read the label.
That's really sad because you paid that's first of all, that's a lot of money. And secondly, for that, I mean, I don't know what's the reason, but to tell the student just read the book. Then what's the point of paying for the class if I can read the book?
Exactly. I was like, you can do my laundry. You can.
That's the funny part.
Like you.
Massage my feet.
Yeah, exactly. Like make me happy while I work on this, and maybe. But being relaxed is the point of that. Was that you can go and you can move, and when your mind is relaxed, it's not all stressed out. You can actually absorb more information. Right?
Absolutely. And it's very fascinating because right now, anybody can go to code.org. and learn coding through animation. They made it so simple.
For our children.
It's for children and for grown-up.
Oh my God, JR.
It's called code.org.
Did you hear that? JR, get on your little tablet.
Right, yeah. So it's go.org. Then here in San Antonio, There's so many institute that teach programming, and there's a new one at Geekdom called Code Up, and they have like an intensive. I forgot how many weeks of training. It's a similar price, but they will actually take a person that doesn't know anything about coding to an expert level.
Wow.
And so that's another thing you can check it out. But if you're a ton on a budget, check it out, code.org.
Now tell me about WordPress now, because I have had some people say, oh, just, like my super sweet, smart feng shui lady in LA. I love her. Hi, Pia. She's like, oh, just do WordPress, just download it, and you can just make your own website. It's just so easy peasy. And I'm like, okay. So
Same thing.
I know.
Can somebody massage my feet?
I'm gonna do this, and all of a sudden it just all went into like
Same thing.
Chinese.
You got the memories of that teacher. Go back to your book.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, did that just happen again?
You need a tutor.
Yeah. So I have to admit, and this is okay. So luckily, Yusuf laughs with me and not at me. But I am that person who has to do, I guess, like the iPhone version of a website, which is on Vistaprint, because it has like pretty little pictures, and it's like point and click. And I'm like, woohoo, I just made a tab. So unfortunately, if you go to my website, I have like 30 tabs because I have like 30,000 ideas a day. And yeah, so I know, and I'm trying to get into the Android version of a website versus the iPhone, because the Androids. Did I ever tell you that story? How I had to turn in my Android? So I got the one with the little Facebook. Remember when that came out a few years ago? And I was so proud of myself. I was like, oh, I can just do Facebook, boom. Well, I couldn't make a call. I couldn't receive a call. I couldn't pick up a message. I couldn't leave a message. All I could do was be on Facebook going, help me. I can't make a call.
That's funny.
And then after about a week of trying to learn it, I went back and I was like, I need an iPhone. Thank you very much. And then I went back.
But you're trying. At least you try.
I did. I was so frustrated. I needed a lot of hair dye after that for all the things. But then my little boy was like 3.5 at the time.
Wow.
And he was all like, oh, here, Mommy, let me show you how to use it. And I was like, oh, thank God you know. And it was just voila. And that changed my life. So now everything is like, can I do WordPress on my iPhone?
Yeah, I mean, there's an app. You can just add an app and log in from there. But when it comes to WordPress, yes, I do say this to a lot of businesses. Yes, use WordPress because it'll be easy for you to upload blogs, post videos, and manage without asking the developer to do every single small changes. But WordPress is not the only platform out there. There's so many other platforms that is on a paid version. If you don't have time to learn WordPress, you don't have time to spend time learning. Just if you're a blogger, you just want to blog something and move on, there are many options out there. I personally prefer WordPress because it has a lot of potential for a business. I mean, you can start small, you can start basic. When your business grows, then you can add more features. Like
plugins.
More plugins, more features. More features, more options. Maybe you decided to add a forum or an online store. And for the search engine, I mean, it's really good for you to be able to optimize to different things. But it's not the only option, but that's what I prefer, and that's what I provide, and that's what we teach.
So you teach on so many things, from how to use Facebook Basic 101 to WordPress, and
yes.
What else do you teach on?
Yeah, so all the social media channels, like the Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, any new social media channel comes out, we teach all the classes on that. We also teach how to build a website based on WordPress platform. We also teach search engine optimization, which is how to get traffic, how to be visible on Google products, and also crowdfunding. We'll help you and teach you how to go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo and raise some fund, or how to start a business as an entrepreneur. We also talk about mindset. So,
that's huge.
Yeah, mindset's huge because a lot of folks that start a business, I mean, you have to ask this question to yourself: are you really love what you do? Are you an entrepreneur, or are you just trying out? It starts from the mindset, because the entrepreneur, they don't think like a regular folks. I'm serious, they don't think like a regular folks. When I mean regular folks, that's people that have just a regular job or don't have anything else, or business just trying to give it a shot. But
I'm a multipreneur.
Yeah.
I don't even call myself an entrepreneur anymore. I just
I like that, multipreneur.
Because I don't know. We started off with the singing and dancing, and then we flourished
Right.
into video. And
Well,
what do you need? A body wrap? What do you need? I can do it.
That's awesome because
Insurance, what?
that's good because you always think big. I love that statement. You always think big, but you start small
Yeah.
and you take action.
Yeah, we
That's
do. We take action, and then sometimes there's cold water. You're like, oh, who knew that was going to happen? But then, hey, that's what we learned from it. So let's move on. And so
Absolutely.
it's exciting. And, like I said, if you are at home or at your business space and you are like, wow, I really need to take advantage of this whole internet marketing, because you can put your products and service online. Now you can service the world, not just the 20-mile radius that people may or may not want to drive into. And what do they usually say? They have to see you so many times before they'll actually.
You're absolutely correct. And the beautiful thing about when it comes to the internet in general, I mean, there's so many opportunities. I mean, if you go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, to start a business, you had to get all this license, you had to have all this money, you had to get a loan. But I highly advise you not to get a loan, okay?
Me too.
start with the bootstrapping from scratch. But it's intimidating and so much work. But with the internet, you can invest $50 a year for a hosting, at $10 or $5 a month, and build a basic site, put content, blog, share your stories, share some ideas, build some fans, and eventually you'll notice that, wow, it's picking up, people are getting it. Then you can move up to the next level, like get the license and whatnot. So it's much easier.
So that's what that SEO is about, being found.
The search engine mostly, the SEO mostly about what the customer are looking for product and services, and based on how you build your site, following the Google's guideline, eventually you will show up for those particular keywords. So if somebody type San Antonio's best radio show and you show up, for instance, if that's how you're going to build your site, then that helps it. But the idea that you have access not just to build your business, but to anybody. You can hire, you can outsource, you can contract, project, whether folks from locally or nationwide or even internationally. So it made it much easier to start a business than not. Especially look at crowdfunding, look at Kickstarter, look at Indiegogo. People are gonna pay you free money.
What's Indiegogo?
It's another platform like Kickstarter where you can go put your project and raise some fund, And
INDI?
Yeah, Indiegogo. INDIGOGO. Yeah.
I know go-go part.
Yeah.
That's so exciting
it
to
is.
know all that and share that with people.
Absolutely.
It's such a huge blessing, because there are so many people that are starting out and they don't have those huge bank accounts or credit card lines that they want to. And we don't really recommend going into all that right at first.
I mean, I personally don't recommend. I know there's some, like in San Antonio, we have a good organization that help small businesses or somebody wants to start, like in the SCORE, SBDC, Axion, Cafe Commerce, Geekdom, and Venture and whatnot. These organizations, they'll be there to provide you classes and help you and whatnot. But if you want to learn from day-to-day practical stuff, you have the opportunity to sit down and speak with the entrepreneurs and whatnot. But the idea that you don't have to really go through all these huge processes to start a business. In fact, I have people coming and telling me, to start my business, I need 50 grand because of all these requirements. I tell them, how much do you have? I only have 5 grand. Okay, what can you do with 5 grand?
Exactly.
Let's start from there. Don't worry about the 45 right now, because you don't want to wait. You have to take action quick. And some of the mistake that I see, that some people that start a business, is that they focus too much on business card, website, flyers. I mean, when you invest money, you have to think, if I'm going to spend $5,000, $3,000, or $2,000, how I'm going to get it back and when. If you don't have a plan for that, you got to use an exit strategy. So what I focus on, yes, you need to have those. Of course, you need to have a website and all this marketing material. But if you get a customer right now, are you going to tell them, wait till I get a website? Are you going to take it? I would say take it. Yeah. Take the client, generate enough income, then save and go from there. That's how I teach. I don't sit down with somebody, oh, you need all this paperwork before you move forward, because to me that's discouraging. So I'm kind of a little bit non-traditional. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's how I did it as a hobby, and that's how it worked, and I'm still learning, and that's what I teach folks.
And it sounds like with all those organizations, it's almost like a class a day is available somewhere in the city of San Antonio.
Oh yes. Yes.
There's always somebody willing to help.
And it's available. And if you search for it, if you look for it, you'll find it.
So that's what Geekdom was about.
Geekdom was more about how to bring geeks and people with ideas into one spot where they can help each other, collaborate, and they have investors. They teach you how to pitch a product to get some money. Excuse
Who
me.
would have known all this was gonna like pop out of the internet? I remember being
absolutely.
in 95 when I was a graduate student. The only way I could go do my work is if I went to the library and logged onto their system to be able to do research. And now I actually started my PhD 2 years ago when we first opened up Smash and my new fitness there, and I would try to do it at night. And it was just so mind-blowing to me because while I'm working on my papers, I was like, wow, I remember all those times I used to have to go and stay at the library until 11 o'clock at night, be there at 8 in the morning on Sunday to open up and be hostage. And now it's so many opportunities, level out the playing ground.
You're absolutely correct. You don't have to. In fact, you can actually, somebody told me that you can access the library from the internet and download the book or view the book. So you don't have to be at the library anymore.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is. And when people used to hang out at the Starbucks, this is where you go for geekdom. Geekdom, it's a very quiet place. Excuse me. Or Venture Point or Cafe Commerce, because the mindset in that environment is all about helping and building a business. So you're not going to be distracted.
So tell me about one of the most interesting websites, experienced business owners that you've been involved with that you were just like, whoa.
Well, I mean, I have different businesses from really small mom and pop all the way to like companies that makes millions of dollars. So some of the experience, I mean, I have the good experience, and the good experience always like happy customers, not. But the bad experience is mostly like customers that don't understand what is it for, or they don't have a clear idea why they need a website. So when I sit with a client and I tell them, so this is your business, this is your niche, who's your target market, right? They have no idea. Well, I want to sell, I want to do like dentist or something like that. So who's your target market? Well, anybody that needs to help with the, I know, but who's your target market? A young, old, student? That has to be clear. Who's your target market and which location? Because when you build the site, you have to actually let me know, what do you want the visitor to do? When the visitor visits your website, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to opt in? That has to be clear. If you're targeting college students, that means the design in the images on the site has to reflect college students, not nursery home.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So those kind of challenges, you have to actually sit down with the client, explain to them. You have to educate them, even if it takes an hour. I know most agencies will not do that because time is money, but we have to try our best to explain everything so they can then make the right decision.
Knowledge is power. And then the more you have, the better questions you can ask.
Absolutely.
And that's key with you, is just getting that information from them to understand what they understand already.
Absolutely. And you'd be surprised that most of them, it's not like it's their fault. They just didn't know. I mean, they didn't realize that this is what it needs, what it takes. And that's why with the San Antonio Marketing Group, we do our best to teach everything, ask those questions, because our classes is not a monologue class. It's not just come here, sit down and listen to, an hour, 2 hours of presentation. No, there's a lot of interaction, because the objective is I want to understand this 100%, how it works. So when the student goes out there or business owner goes out there to look for an agency or a consultant, they can ask the right questions so those agencies cannot fool them. Because sadly, you have some businesses that take the ignorance of the business owner for granted, and they can sell you stuff that make it. Sometimes I get like surprised. What, you paying this much for this thing? Then when I show them and tell them how it works, they're like, oh man, they didn't know. So we have to do our best to educate the client or the customer first before they make a decision, whether they're going to go with us or with anybody else, but they need to be educated.
Yeah, and that's what we want you to do. So we want you to make sure you go online to www.onlinebusinessowners.org, not .com, .org. I always say that like twice because I'm like the first one to like always put a .com, and then I'm always on my mobile too. So what do you see going on with the future of the mobile sites versus the ones that they have to be viewed on a traditional desktop or bigger screen?
That's a beautiful question, and I'm glad you asked. Back in 2009, one of my friends' business called AdMob. It's an advertising company that releases all these ads on mobile devices when people used to download iTunes songs. So Google actually bought that company back in 2009 for like 700 something $million.
Wow.
So
That's a nice payday.
it is. So if Google bought, so we have to understand that Google doesn't do anything haphazardly. They have the research. They understand where the future is going. So when I saw that, like, wow, so that's gonna be the big thing, and it's true because nowadays most of us are on the mobile. So your mobile device, whether it's an iPad or iPhone or Droid, it's like a computer. You look for product, you look for service, you look for restaurant, you look for doctors, everything on your mobile device. Which means you as a business owner, if you have a website, it has to be mobile based. Or to go extra mile further, you can make your own app because we use app to purchase product, to look for different things. We don't even go to the website on the mobile device.
It's huge. This app thing is huge. I
Yeah.
can't even believe like TV stations are going on
Yeah.
apps and just look, we're probably not even gonna have cable after a while.
You never know because the Netflix and Hulu, Blockbuster shut down.
I know.
You know, so that means what? Everything is on the mobile device. There was a company, I forgot the name. They were providing like cable services on the mobile devices where you pay monthly. But I think unfortunately, Time Warner and all these big giants made a fuss about it, and unfortunately, I don't know if they shut down or whatnot. But if I was Time Warner, I wouldn't do that. I would take that opportunity because I have a consumer that in those devices we should provide that instead of just trying to monopolize. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing is there's so much to learn. So please find Yusuf on the www.onlinebusinessowners.org, and no matter what size of business owner you are or what your passion is, try to find him on his meetups and get there because they are the most exhilarating computer experiences you'll have. And that's odd for me to say because I can't find the on button most days, but it's so exciting because there's so much great energy, great people, great positivity, and great information that you can build on. And for me, I took the class and then it had to kind of saute in my brain for a while, and I was like, oh, that's what he's telling me. Okay, good. And then if you need specific help, now you do obviously a free no cost consultation.
We do it to a point, like the class is considered for you at no cost, but if you want to do one-on-one, the first time there'll be no cost, and after that, you
start setting up
of course
a
you have to
program.
set up a program that you have to pay because
There's food to be bought for
right.
children.
Absolutely. I'm not a charity, but even
now, do your kids do code already?
my daughter, she doesn't like coding. Okay, and my son, he's into gamings and whatnot, so he might get into that kind of stuff.
That's the other huge. And we do Geek Out SA too,
Right.
so they talk about, I'm like, oh, let's play games. Now I want to play games.
Have you heard of this is another awesome organization called venturelab.org, where they actually teach kids, from the age of, I don't exactly recall, maybe from 8 all the way to 13, how to start a business. And
Did you hear that, JR?
and they teach you how to get funding and invested and pitching and everything. It's an amazing organization, venturelab.org.
So your kids aren't like you, where they're like, oh, let's take this beautiful new machine and smash it and see how we can put it back together.
My wife won't be happy about that, but yeah, all right.
Yeah, I just think
when they do it's okay, son, it's okay. So
I'm just thinking your poor parents are like, what did
Right.
you guys do? But that's so awesome. So thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming. I love you.
Thank you.
And so don't forget www.onlinebusinessowners.org. And Yusuf is not spelled Y-O-U. And I did misspell it a whole bunch at first until I found him on Facebook, where you
all
can also
good.
find him. So it's Y-U-S-U-F, Chowdhury. And that's the thing is you're all over the web. So even if you misspell it, you can probably
show
still
up.
find Yusuf. Yeah.
Or for the other
Yusuf.
Yusuf Chowdhury.
Yes. And so we're so excited. So thank you so much for logging on to SA Talk today and finding us on YouTube under our Silver Fox Multimedia channel. And we'll have another exciting show for you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Awesome.